guess these days I'm sort of like a Silicon Valley cynic. Maybe I've been doing it for too long. I've lived in Silicon Valley for about 15 years and definitely started out covering the minutia of the business there. I did like semiconductor architecture and server and storage systems and so stuff that people would consider kind of boring, and then worked my way up into doing more mainstream news and go to the New York Times and then covering Silicon Valley in a much broader sense. There's bits and pieces that I love. You know, I love the inventors and I love the spirit of Silicon Valley, but the kind of hype and the we're going to change the world all the time for companies that don't strike me as being very world-changing type entities gets a little bit depressing. And so, you know, the last couple of years I tried to actually shed some attention on people outside of the Valley who are doing interesting things. Traditionally, I would say the tech press, sort of to our fault, was too easy on these companies and the personalities, and it's kind of like, oh, you made this really cool thing, and isn't that great? And you sort of celebrate it. And as technology has become such a pervasive part of our lives, and we all use these tools every day, you know, you have to look at this with a much more cynical eye. I always flocked more to like the engineers, so that made me happy. I would try to pay attention to the people actually doing the work as opposed to the big personalities. Elon's always stood out to me as a really interesting character who's a bit different than a lot of the CEOs. This entire crop of engineers out of MIT, Stanford, Caltech, who come and work on advertising. They try to make you click on as many ads as you can and make their services as addictive as possible. And so the cynic in me got pretty depressed about all of this. And to me, Elon is certainly not perfect. There's plenty of things that are difficult about his personality and questions about his company, but he harkened back to a different era of Silicon Valley. California is one of the most expensive places you can live, but he's got a rocket factory in Los Angeles, he's got a car factory in Silicon Valley, he's got a battery factory in Nevada, a solar plant in New York, and so he's created tens of thousands of manufacturing jobs and totally gone back to physics. I mean, it's like the breakthroughs these companies have had are in materials science and modernizing industry. Whether you're talking about Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos or the engineers that work for them, you just find these people who they're so curious about the world and this passion to make things. I mean, that's what inspires me, and that's what I sort of try to take away.